Introduction: The Living Road. Beyond the maps and faded lines on ancient parchment, the Silk Road was never merely a road. It was alive, a sprawling, breathing organism spanning continents, linking empires, villages, deserts, rivers, and seas. To think of it simply as a line connecting China to the Mediterranean is to overlook its pulsating complexity. Instead, imagine it as a vast vascular network where towns, caravanserais, and market hubs functioned as nodes, pumping life through arteries of trade and culture. Ideas, languages, religions, and goods flowed along these arteries as steadily as blood, sustaining a global ecosystem centuries before the modern world. From the bustling streets of Xi'an to the sun-drenched markets of Samarkand, from Baghdad's scholar-filled quarters to Constantinople's cosmopolitan ports, the Silk Road was a conduit for wealth, knowledge, and survival. Traders risked treacherous mountain passes, scorching deserts, political upheaval, and marauding bandits to transport silk, jade, spices, horses, and paper across thousands of miles. But trade was only one layer of this living network. It carried ideas, technologies, and beliefs that reshaped civilizations. The Silk Road's vitality depended on its people, travelers, merchants, artisans, and guards, all working in concert to keep this sprawling network alive. This is the story of the Silk Road, not as a relic of the past, but as a living, breathing entity whose rhythms, challenges, and lessons resonate to this day. Over the next hour, we will explore its arteries and nodes, the caravanserais that served as its organs, the daily lives and rhythms of those who traveled its paths, its strategic importance to empires, and the echoes of its influence in the modern world. Part 1: Beyond the Maps, a living organism. The Silk Road was far more than a single path. It was a sprawling network of routes that shifted with seasons, politics, and geography. Travelers did not simply move along one track. They moved through a web of interlacing arteries that branched across deserts, converged in oasis towns, and traversed treacherous mountain passes. Towns like Kashgar, Dunhuang, Bactra Balk, and Merv served as essential hubs, nodes where merchants rested, resupplied, and exchanged goods and intelligence. Caravans followed rivers when possible, skirted deserts with water holes, and traversed high passes that demanded both skill and endurance. The heartbeat of the Silk Road was its trade. Silk, prized throughout the ancient world, traveled westward in tightly packed bundles, glittering like molten gold under the sun. Spices, cinnamon from Ceylon, pepper from India, saffron from Persia, infused the markets of Aleppo, Damascus, and Constantinople with scents of distant lands. Jade from China, horses from Central Asia, glassware from Rome, ceramics from Persia, and paper from Samarkand moved steadily alongside the more humble but essential goods. Salt, grains, textiles, and livestock. Ideas traveled as steadily as goods. Buddhism journeyed from India to China, leaving temples, texts, and followers along the way. Islamic scholarship and scientific knowledge moved westward into Persia, Syria, and beyond, reshaping mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and architecture. Papermaking migrated from China to Samarkand and Baghdad, revolutionizing record-keeping and administration. Technologies like the stirrup or compass spread quietly but profoundly, transforming warfare and navigation. The Silk Road functioned as a pre-modern information superhighway, with merchants, envoys, and pilgrims as the carriers of knowledge. But danger was always present. Epidemics traveled silently with trade, and the Black Death, centuries later, would exploit these same arteries to devastate Europe. Political instability, bandits, and environmental hazards constantly threatened caravans. Survival depended not only on skill and preparation, but on vigilance and social cooperation. Travelers such as Zhang Kaiyan, who explored Central Asia in the 2nd century BCE, laid the foundation for the Han dynasty's trade and diplomatic routes. Marco Polo, traveling in the late 13th century, recorded not only commodities, but city life, courtly intrigue, and cultural diversity from Persia to China. Ibn Battuta, 3 centuries later, chronicled journeys spanning North Africa to India, providing vivid insight into trade, religion, and governance along these routes. Through their accounts, the Silk Road emerges not as a static path, but as a living ecosystem of commerce, communication, and human resilience. Part 2: Oases of Commerce. Caravanserai as critical nodes. If the Silk Road was a living organism, caravanserais were its organs. These fortified inns appeared at intervals roughly a day's journey apart, providing essential shelter, food, water, and security for travelers and animals. Constructed with thick walls, gates, courtyards, stables, and storerooms, caravanserais were designed for efficiency, safety, and commerce. Notable examples include the Rabat-i Malik near Merv, the Rabat-i Shah in Persia, and the famed inns near Kashgar and Samarkand. Caravanserais were hubs of intelligence. Merchants exchanged news of political changes, tolls, and alliances. Envoys and spies could gather information under the guise of trade. Here, the world's economic, political, and social networks converged in a single space. Merchants traded not just goods, but knowledge, weather patterns, road conditions, and rumors of impending conflicts. In many ways, these inns were the social and informational nerve centers of the Silk Road. Safety measures were meticulously maintained. Guards patrolled walls, animals were tethered securely, and sleeping arrangements minimized theft or damage. Organized watch rotations ensured caravans could rest while remaining alert to threats. Without such structures, long-distance trade, particularly of high-value items like silk, spices, or jade, would have been nearly impossible. Caravanserais also fostered microeconomies. Local artisans, farmers, bakers, and blacksmiths supported travelers, while local rulers collected tolls and maintained order. Hospitality was not only moral, but strategic. Offering shelter to a traveling merchant could cement loyalty, intelligence, or trade relationships. These nodes exemplified the interdependence of security, commerce, and diplomacy along the Silk Road. Part 3. Life along the route, time, taste, and transformation. Life along the Silk Road was dictated by rhythm, the rhythm of movement, trade, and survival. Sunrise to sunset structured the day. Farmers in oasis towns rose early to tend crops and prepare goods for caravans. Bakers fired bread in massive clay ovens, timed to meet the arrival of traders. Blacksmiths shaped tools, horseshoes, and caravan equipment. Markets opened as merchants arrived, displaying their wares and shouting over the clamor of voices in Persian, Turkic, Arabic, Chinese, Mongolian, and Sogdian. Merchants themselves adjusted their schedules meticulously. Camels, horses, and donkeys moved at steady paces, resting at midday in shaded areas to avoid the desert heat. Caravan leaders planned every day with precision. Water availability, grazing for animals, and security considerations shaped decisions. Market days and festivals were synchronized with caravan arrivals. Entire communities oriented their routines around these flows. Cultural contamination, in the positive sense, was a constant phenomenon. Culinary techniques traveled alongside goods. Central Asian noodles found their way into Chinese markets. Persian saffron-enhanced stews in Anatolia. Spices from India colored meals from Baghdad to Samarkand. Art, music, and clothing styles mingled. A Persian rug could hang in a Chinese courtyard. Chinese silks could wrap Persian princes. Architecture evolved as well. Domes, arches, courtyards, and minarets blended across empires. Sensory experiences along the Silk Road were intense and layered. Samarkand's markets brimmed with the aroma of frankincense, cinnamon, and dried fruits. The dust from the desert mingled with animal scents, the smoke of cooking fires, and the metallic tang of coins. Visual splendor accompanied olfactory richness. Brightly dyed silks, gemstones glinting in sunlight, polished ceramics, and painted manuscripts. Merchants and travelers not only traded goods, but absorbed the textures, smells, and sounds of faraway lands. A full-bodied experience of globalization centuries before modern technology. Daily life was also punctuated by rest and entertainment. Caravanserais offered communal meals, storytelling, music, and games to pass time while caravans rested. Nights were filled with the exchange of news, tales of distant cities, and strategy discussions. These moments were essential for morale, intelligence gathering, and forging alliances. Part 4. Power, Rest, and Strategy. Night on the Silk Road. Rest was never merely a personal need on the Silk Road. It was a strategic instrument. Alliances were forged over shared meals and nights spent together in caravanserais. Diplomacy often took place in these spaces, where merchants, envoys, and emissaries exchanged favors and intelligence. In these inns, a gesture of hospitality could secure trust or create leverage, sometimes tipping the balance in local or regional power struggles. Control of strategic segments of the Silk Road defined empires. The Han Dynasty secured passes to protect traders from hostile nomads. The Tang dynasty fortified oasis towns to maintain regional dominance. The Mongols expanded an extensive postal and caravan system, enforcing security, collecting taxes, and streamlining communication over thousands of miles. Whoever held control of passes, caravanserais, and trade hubs wielded economic and political power far beyond their borders. Yet the night was never without danger. Bandits, rival factions, and opportunists threatened travelers under cover of darkness. Caravans moved in large groups for protection, organized rotational watches, and fortified their temporary settlements. Caravanserais implemented layered defenses, gates, guard towers, secure animal enclosures, and well-planned sleeping arrangements to prevent theft and ensure the safety of goods. Vigilance was a necessity, not a choice. Sleep itself became a tool of strategy. A well-rested merchant could negotiate better prices or alliances. A rested caravan guard could prevent ambushes or theft. Informal intelligence networks often functioned under the guise of rest, as merchants shared news and rumors that could shape political and economic decisions. Nights along the Silk Road were as carefully structured and strategic as the days of travel. Part 5. Modern Echoes. The Silk Road in Today's World. The principles of the Silk Road resonate even today. Modern global trade faces many of the same challenges, moving goods efficiently across vast distances, mitigating risk, and maintaining trust across borders. Container ships, cargo planes, rail networks, and digital communication channels are the descendants of camel caravans, caravanserais, and messenger networks. Distribution hubs mirror the ancient inns where goods were sorted, stored, and forwarded. Modern logistics is, in many ways, the Silk Road refined by technology. Cultural threads spun along the Silk Road continue to shape the contemporary world. Spices, fabrics, and art once transported along deserts and mountains now appear in global cuisine, fashion, and design. Tomato, pepper, noodles, coffee, and rice. All of these traveled far from their origins to become staples in global diets. Architectural motifs, musical scales, clothing styles, and linguistic borrowings still bear the imprint of Silk Road interactions. The blending of cultures along trade routes laid the foundation for global interconnectedness centuries before globalization became a buzzword. Lessons from the Silk Road's human dimensions are equally relevant. Well-being, rest, and resilience remain critical for success in modern logistics, diplomacy, and business. Supply chains depend on rested and alert workers. Negotiations succeed when parties are attentive, well-fed, and prepared. Strategic decisions require accurate intelligence and timing. The ancients understood that commerce, security, and human endurance are inseparable. A lesson that resonates in boardrooms, airports, and ports worldwide. Conclusion: the enduring pulse of connection. The Silk Road was never simply a road. It was a living network, a pulse of human interaction, trade, culture, and strategy. Its caravans, markets, and caravanserais foreshadowed modern logistics and trade hubs. Its cultural blending anticipated globalization. Its recognition of the importance of rest and human endurance informs contemporary understanding of work, diplomacy, and economic resilience. The road may be ancient, yet its spirit endures. Connection, exchange, vigilance, and resilience. These principles guided travelers and merchants then, and they continue to guide humanity today. The Silk Road story is not just history, it is a blueprint for understanding how societies link, survive, and thrive across time and space. From the bustling markets of Samarkand to modern global supply chains, from ancient caravanserais to international shipping hubs, the lessons of the Silk Road remain vivid and instructive. Commerce flows, ideas travel, cultures blend, and human endurance underpins the networks that sustain civilization. The Silk Road is not merely a line on a map. It is a living testament to the enduring power of connection.